The hum of Chicago's skyline buzzed faintly through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my 12th floor office, a symphony of distant traffic and wind slicing through steel and glass as the first light of dawn crept over Lake Michigan. I'm Aria Jensen, 28 years old, a senior interior designer at Horizon Designs, a powerhouse architecture firm known for its sleek skyscrapers and luxury renovations that grace the covers of design magazines. My days are a dance of creativity, sketching bold layouts with warm oak accents and vibrant textiles, my hands stained with charcoal from late-night revisions, balanced against the cold precision of corporate deadlines. The office, with its minimalist white walls and glass partitions, is my battlefield, a place where innovation clashes with ambition, and I've carved out a niche with projects that blend comfort with cutting-edge style. But that morning, as I sipped my black coffee and adjusted the blinds to catch the sunrise, an email pinged into my inbox, its subject line blank, its sender hidden behind a string of random letters. X and 7K9P2Q shots, a digital ghost that would unravel my world. I clicked it open, my curiosity piqued by the anonymity, and my breath caught as I read the stark words on the screen. Aria, beware. Victor Lang is stealing your riverfront project to secure his promotion. Check your files. A friend. No signature, no trace, just a warning that hit me like a punch to the gut. Victor Lang, my boss, the silver-haired design director with a smile that could charm a boardroom but eyes that never warmed, was the man who'd mentored me 2 years ago, praising my visionary flair when I landed my first major client. Back then, he'd been a guide, sharing late-night critiques over bourbon, his gravelly voice offering wisdom I'd clung to. But lately, his demeanor had shifted. Snide comments about my over-ambitious designs, sidelining me from meetings, and now this. The Riverfront Project, a $5 million renovation for a luxury hotel on the Chicago River, was my brainchild. Months of sleepless nights poured into its fusion of industrial steel with plush velvet lounges, a design I'd pitched to the board just last week. The email's claim felt like a betrayal I couldn't yet fathom, but the seed of doubt had been planted. I opened my project files, my fingers trembling on the keyboard, and there it was, a hidden folder titled VL Riverfront, time-stamped last night, containing a near-exact copy of my blueprints, altered with Victor's name as the lead designer. My stomach churned as I scrolled through the pages, the familiar curves of my sketches now branded with his signature, a theft so blatant it left me dizzy. I leaned back in my chair, the leather creaking under me, my mind racing. How had he accessed my work? I'd locked my files with a password, shared only with the IT team. The email's warning echoed. Someone knew. Someone was watching, and they'd chosen me as their confidant. I glanced around the open-plan office, its early morning quiet broken only by the clatter of a coffee machine. My colleagues still hours away. Victor's corner office loomed at the far end, its blinds drawn, a fortress of power I'd once admired. The memory of our recent interactions flooded back, each moment now tinged with suspicion. 2 weeks ago, during a team meeting, he'd interrupted my presentation, dismissing my velvet accent idea as too flashy before suggesting a similar concept himself the next day, earning nods from the board. Last month, he'd taken credit for a color palette I'd developed, presenting it to a client with a casual, "just a little tweak of mine." I'd brushed it off as corporate politics, but now it felt like a pattern, a deliberate erosion of my contributions. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Lena, a freelance photographer. "Heard Victor's gunning for VP. Watch your back." The coincidence was too stark. Someone was orchestrating this, and Victor was at the center. But who was this friend sending the email? The question gnawed at me, a mystery I couldn't ignore. I decided to dig deeper, pulling up the email's metadata with the rudimentary skills I'd picked up from a cybersecurity workshop. The sender's IP was masked, routed through a VPN, but the timestamp 3:17 a.m. suggested someone with insider access, someone who worked late or lived the office life as intensely as I did. My gaze drifted to the IT desk where Ethan, a lanky guy with a perpetual headset, often stayed past midnight troubleshooting. Could it be him? Or maybe Maya Torres, the former IT lead fired 6 months ago after clashing with Victor. Her departure had been abrupt, her desk cleared overnight. The thought of Maya sent a shiver down my spine. She'd been my ally, helping me secure my files, and her exit had always felt suspicious. I shook my head, refocusing on the task. First, I needed to confirm Victor's theft. I slipped into the server room during lunch, my heart pounding as I accessed the backup logs, a skill Maya had taught me. The records showed Victor's login accessing my files at 2:45 a.m., minutes before the email arrived, a timeline that suggested a whistleblower within. I copied the evidence to a flash drive, my hands sweaty as I hid it in my desk drawer, the weight of it a secret I couldn't yet share. Back at my station, I sketched a new design to calm my nerves, the strokes of my pencil a rhythm against the chaos in my mind. Victor strode in at noon, his presence commanding the room, his smile tight as he dropped a stack of revised riverfront plans on my desk. "Adjust these by tomorrow," he said, his tone clipped, his eyes lingering on me a beat too long. I nodded, my stomach twisting, knowing those adjustments were my own work, stolen and repurposed. The day dragged on, each meeting a test of my composure as Victor pitched my ideas to the board, his voice smooth as he claimed credit, the room applauding his genius. I sat silent, my jaw clenched, the flash drive burning a hole in my drawer. After hours, as the office emptied, I stayed late, poring over the email again, its words a lifeline. A friend, whoever they were, they'd given me a weapon, and I intended to use it. I couldn't confront Victor yet, not without proof of his intent, but the seed of a plan began to form. The company's annual summit was in 2 weeks, a high-profile event with 500 attendees, including clients and media, where Victor planned to unveil the Riverfront project as his triumph. That would be my stage, not to beg, but to turn his ambition into his undoing. That night, as I walked home through Chicago's neon-lit streets, the wind whipping off the lake, I felt a shift within me. I wasn't the naive designer who'd trusted her mentor anymore. I was a woman betrayed, armed with evidence and a growing resolve. The email's sender remained a mystery, but their warning had ignited a fire, one that would burn through Victor's schemes and light my path to justice. I stopped by the river, its dark waters reflecting the city's glow, and made a silent vow. I'd outsmart him, reclaim my work, and ensure he paid for every stolen sketch. The corporate world had underestimated me, but they'd soon learn. Aria Jensen was no pawn to be sacrificed. The fluorescent lights of Horizon Designs buzzed faintly above me as I hunched over my desk, the Chicago skyline a distant blur through the office windows, now darkened by the late hour. My screen glowed with the metadata of the anonymous email, X7K9P22Q, its cryptic warning replaying in my mind like a broken record. Victor Lang was stealing my riverfront project, my $5 million masterpiece to secure his promotion. The evidence I'd found, his login accessing my files at 2:45 a.m., stun followed by the email at 3:17 a.m., was a damning thread, but it wasn't enough. I needed to know how deep this betrayal ran, who'd sent the warning, and how to turn Victor's scheme against him. The flash drive with the server logs sat heavy in my drawer, a ticking bomb I couldn't yet detonate, not without more proof. The office was a ghost town at 10 p.m., and the only sound the hum of the air conditioning and the occasional creak of the building settling, but I couldn't leave, not when my career hung in the balance. I started by tracing the email's origins, but the VPN mask was a dead end, a digital fortress I couldn't crack with my limited skills. My thoughts turned to Maya Torres, the former IT lead who'd been fired 6 months ago after a clash with Victor. Maya had been my ally, teaching me how to secure my files with encryption, her sharp wit a comfort during late-night project crunches. Her sudden exit had been shrouded in mystery. Victor claimed she'd resigned, but her desk was cleared overnight, and whispers of a wrongful termination lawsuit had circulated before fading. Could she be the friend behind the email? I found her on LinkedIn, her profile sparse but active, now freelancing as a cybersecurity consultant. I sent her a message, my fingers hesitating over the keyboard. Maya, it's Aria from Horizon. I need your help. Victor's stealing my work. Can we meet? I hit send, my heart pounding, knowing I was stepping into dangerous territory. Maya replied within hours, her tone clipped but curious. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., the Beanery on Wacker Drive. Bring proof. The Beanery was a cozy cafe near the river, its exposed brick walls and mismatched chairs a far cry from Horizon's sterile glass offices, and I arrived early, clutching a printout of the server logs. Maya walked in, her dark hair now streaked with purple, her leather jacket a stark contrast to her old corporate attire. "You look like hell," she said, sliding into the booth, her brown eyes scanning me with a mix of concern and suspicion. I pushed the logs across the table, my voice low. "Victor's passing off my riverfront designs as his own. I got this email warning me. Can you trace it?" Maya skimmed the papers, her jaw tightening, and nodded. "I'll look into it, but I'm not surprised. Victor's a snake. He got me fired after I caught him deleting project backups to sabotage a rival." Her words sent a chill down my spine, revealing a pattern of deceit I hadn't seen before. Over the next week, Maya worked her magic, uncovering a web of digital breadcrumbs that painted a damning picture. The email had been sent from a burner account, routed through a VPN in Seattle, but she traced its origin to a public library in Chicago, used at 3:15 a.m. Someone with insider knowledge, likely a current employee. More alarming was her discovery of Victor's correspondence with Horizon's biggest client, Pinnacle Hotels, the company behind the Riverfront project. He'd emailed them my designs under his name, claiming I'd been unreliable and unprofessional, even fabricating a late submission to discredit me. Worse, Maya found encrypted chats between Victor and Pinnacle's CEO, Richard Hale, hinting at a kickback deal. Victor would secure the project, and Hale would funnel $200,000 to an offshore account for Victor's consulting. The betrayal deepened with each revelation, my trust in Horizon's corporate culture shattering as I realized Victor wasn't just stealing my work, he was playing a far dirtier game. I needed more than digital proof to take him down. I needed hard evidence. Ethan Carter, the night shift security tech with a penchant for late-night gaming, became my next ally. I'd seen him lingering in the server room during my late-night sleuthing, his headset glowing with neon lights, and I approached him after hours, my voice a whisper. "Ethan, I need your help. Victor's stealing my designs. Can you check the office cameras?" He hesitated, his lanky frame shifting uncomfortably, but my desperation won him over. "I owe you one for covering my shift last month," he muttered, pulling up the footage on his laptop. The grainy video showed Victor entering my cubicle at 2:30 a.m., his face illuminated by my monitor as he copied files to a USB, his movements quick and deliberate. Ethan burned the clip to a disk, his voice low. "Be careful, Aria. He's got friends in high places." The footage was a smoking gun, but the stakes rose when I overheard a conversation in the break room. Victor bragging to Lena Voss, a junior designer with a knack for flattery, about his promotion plan. Lena, with her sleek blonde ponytail and designer heels, had always been Victor's shadow, but her giggle at his mention of cutting Aria out turned my blood cold. Was she in on it? I kept my distance, playing the role of the diligent employee, but the pressure mounted as Victor piled on tasks, forcing me to revise his riverfront plans, my own designs, while whispering to colleagues that I was slipping. The office became a minefield, whispers following me down the halls, colleagues I'd once trusted now eyeing me with suspicion, their loyalty swayed by Victor's charm. I channeled my frustration into preparation, working late into the night at home, my apartment a mess of sketches and coffee cups. The company's annual summit loomed, a glitzy event at the Palmer House Hilton, attended by 500 industry leaders, clients, and media, where Victor planned to unveil the Riverfront project as his triumph, securing his VP promotion. I knew that was my moment, not to confront him in private, but to expose him publicly, in front of the people he'd courted with my stolen work. I saved every penny from freelance gigs, amassing $3,000 to fund my plan, hiring Maya to hack into Victor's email for more proof, and Ethan to secure the summit's AV system access. I also reached out to Tessa Reed, a design journalist who'd interviewed me last year, offering her an exclusive on the scandal in exchange for her presence at the summit. The night before the event, Maya sent me a bombshell. Victor's chats with Hale included a plan to fire me after the summit, framing me for a data breach to cover his tracks. The revelation was a gut punch, but it also steeled my resolve. I wasn't just fighting for my project anymore. I was fighting for my career, my reputation, and every designer who'd been crushed by corporate greed. As I packed my laptop and the evidence disk, the city lights of Chicago glimmered outside my window, a reminder of the stakes. Victor thought he'd made me a pawn in his game, but he'd underestimated me. I was ready to turn the tables, and the summit would be his downfall. The Palmer House Hilton shimmered like a jewel in downtown Chicago, its ornate lobby awash with golden chandeliers and the hum of 500 guests, industry leaders, clients, and media, gathered for Horizon Design's annual summit. The air buzzed with anticipation, the scent of polished wood and expensive perfume mingling with the faint clink of champagne flutes, a glittering facade of corporate success. I stood at the edge of the ballroom, my heart a frantic drumbeat, dressed in a sleek emerald green dress that hugged my frame, its deep hue a silent declaration of my resolve. In my clutch were the flash drive with server logs, the disk with Ethan's security footage, and a USB of Victor's incriminating emails, hacked by Maya, my arsenal for the battle ahead. The stage loomed at the front, framed by a massive screen, where Victor Lang prepared to unveil the Riverfront project as his own, a $5 million triumph he'd stolen to secure his VP promotion. But tonight, I'd turn his spotlight into his downfall. Victor took the stage, his silver hair catching the spotlight, his tailored navy suit exuding confidence as he smiled at the crowd, his voice smooth and commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Horizon Design's future," he began, gesturing to the screen as my riverfront designs flashed up, my sketches of steel beams and velvet lounges now stamped with his name. "This project, a vision of innovation, will redefine luxury for Pinnacle hotels." Applause erupted, cameras clicked, and Richard Hale, Pinnacle's CEO, nodded from the front row, his smug grin a mirror of Victor's. I watched from the sidelines, my nails digging into my palms, the betrayal a bitter taste in my throat. Beside me, Ethan adjusted his headset, his lanky frame tense as he prepared the AV system, while Tessa Reed, the design journalist, scribbled notes, her eyes darting between me and the stage. Maya had sent a final message an hour ago. "You've got this." But her absence weighed on me, her role as the anonymous friend still a mystery I hadn't unraveled. As Victor's speech reached its crescendo, I stepped forward, the crowd's chatter fading into a tense hush as all eyes turned to me. "I'm Aria Jensen, the true designer of the Riverfront project," I declared, my voice cutting through the room like a blade, each word fueled by months of rage and betrayal. Victor's smile froze, his eyes narrowing to slits as I strode to the stage, my emerald dress catching the light, a beacon of defiance. Richard Hale shifted uncomfortably, his grin fading, while the board members in the front row exchanged wary glances. "I have proof," I said, plugging the USB into the AV system as Ethan activated it with a nod, his fingers deft on the controls. The screen flared with the server logs, showing Victor's login accessing my files at 2:45 a.m., followed by the email he sent to Pinnacle, claiming my work as his own, while branding me unreliable. Gasps rippled through the crowd, journalists whispering as Richard's face darkened, his hands clenching his program. "That's not all," I continued, my voice steady despite the storm inside. The screen shifted to Ethan's security footage, Victor in my cubicle at 2:30 a.m., his face illuminated by my monitor as he copied files to a USB, his movements deliberate and predatory. The room erupted, guests pulling out phones to record, industry leaders murmuring in shock as Victor stammered, his face flushing crimson. "This is a misunderstanding. Aria's fabricating this," he shouted, his voice cracking, his hands slamming the podium in a desperate bid for control. But the screen flashed to Maya's hacked emails, Victor's chats with Richard Hale, detailing a $200,000 kickback for securing the project, with a chilling note, Fire Arya after the summit. Frame her for a data breach. The crowd roared, journalists shouting questions as Richard stood, his face pale, storming toward the exit only to be intercepted by Horizon's legal team, their faces grim. Victor's composure shattered, his eyes wild as he pointed at me, his voice a snarl. "She's lying. I'll sue you for defamation." But before he could continue, I played my final card. A voice recording Maya had pulled from his deleted files, his gravelly tone unmistakable. "Arya's designs are gold. I'll take them and make VP, then cut her loose." The room exploded, the board leaping to their feet, their outrage palpable as Pinnacle's team withdrew their support, Richard Hale muttering, "We're done here." Victor lunged toward me, his fists clenched, but Ethan and 2 security guards intervened, pinning him as he struggled, his suit tearing at the seams. "You'll regret this, Arya," he roared, his voice hoarse, but his threats were drowned by the chaos, journalists swarming, clients pulling out, and the board demanding his immediate termination. The pandemonium peaked when Lena Voss, the junior designer I'd suspected, stepped forward, her blonde ponytail bouncing as she raised her voice, her designer heels clicking on the stage. "Arya's the liar! She stole my ideas too!" she cried, her tone a mix of desperation and venom, her eyes darting to Victor for support. The accusation stunned me, but I'd prepared for this. Maya had uncovered Lena's role, her emails with Victor plotting to undermine me, even suggesting the unreliable narrative. I played the emails on the screen, Lena's words stark. "Make Arya look incompetent. I'll back you up for a raise." The crowd turned on her, their murmurs of disbelief turning to outrage as Lena shrank back, her face pale, her betrayal exposed alongside Victor's. The board chair, a stern woman named Evelyn Carter, took the stage, her voice icy. "Victor Lang and Lena Voss, you're fired, effective immediately. We'll be investigating further." But the final twist came from Evelyn herself, her gaze sweeping the room as she addressed the crowd. "This isn't Victor's first offense. He sabotaged a $3 million project 5 years ago, framing a junior designer to take the fall, all to secure his current role." She held up a file, its pages stamped with internal audits, revealing Victor's history of deceit, a bombshell that sent the room into a frenzy, journalists shouting, "Who was the designer?" as Victor's head dropped, his defeat absolute. I stood amidst the chaos, my heart pounding with triumph and exhaustion, the weight of my stolen work lifted as the crowd's outrage turned to applause, Tessa Reed's camera flashing as she captured my victory. I'd not only exposed Victor, but dismantled his empire, reclaiming my career in a blaze of justice. The aftermath of the Palmer House Summit lingered like a storm's echo over Chicago, the city's skyline a jagged silhouette against the gray dawn as I stood on my apartment balcony, the chill of late autumn biting at my skin. The hum of traffic below was a distant lullaby, a stark contrast to the chaos that had erupted 2 days ago when I'd turned Victor Lang's triumph into his ruin. The emerald green dress I'd worn lay draped over a chair, its fabric still carrying the weight of that night, while my living room was a battlefield of scattered sketches and coffee cups, evidence of the sleepless nights that had led me here. Horizon Designs was in disarray. Victor and Lena Voss fired, their names now whispered with scorn in the industry. But the victory felt bittersweet. My career was reclaimed, yet the betrayal had left scars I couldn't yet heal. The legal fallout was swift, a tidal wave that swept away Victor's empire. Horizon launched an internal investigation, confirming the server logs, security footage, and Maya's hacked emails as irrefutable evidence of his theft and the $200,000 kickback with Richard Hale. Victor faced charges of corporate espionage and fraud, his trial unfolding over the next month in a downtown courtroom where he sat with his head bowed, his silver hair dulled by defeat. The prosecution painted a damning portrait, his history of sabotage, including the $3 million project Evelyn Carter had exposed, and his plot to frame me for a data breach. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, his VP dreams shattered, while Pinnacle Hotels severed ties with Horizon, costing them millions in contracts. Richard Hale resigned in disgrace. his offshore account frozen, and Lena Voss faced a separate lawsuit for her complicity, her designer heels replaced by courtroom shackles as she pleaded for leniency. The company issued a public apology to me, their statement plastered across design blogs, but the damage to their reputation was irreparable. I returned to Horizon as the newly appointed lead designer, a role I'd earned through my own merit, not Victor's stolen glory. The office felt different. My colleagues, once swayed by his charm, now offered tentative smiles, their whispers of suspicion replaced by quiet respect. I threw myself into rebuilding, reviving the riverfront project with my original vision. Steel beams softened by velvet lounges and custom oak paneling, winning back Pinnacle's trust with a revised pitch. The board, led by Evelyn, praised my resilience, her stern voice softening as she said, "Aria, you've saved us from ourselves." But the corporate world's fragility lingered, and I knew I needed more than a title. I needed independence. With Ethan Carter's technical support and Tessa Reed's media coverage, I launched AJ Designs, a boutique studio from my apartment, its first client, a high-end restaurant chain impressed by my summit exposé. The studio's early days were chaotic, nights spent drafting on a folding table, mornings meeting clients in coffee shops. But the breakthrough came 3 months later. A call from Elena Voss, a renowned Chicago architect, offered me a $2 million contract to redesign her flagship office, her voice warm with admiration. "Your story inspired me," she said, her words a balm to my battered spirit. I poured my soul into the project, blending glass walls with sustainable fabrics, its unveiling drawing rave reviews and a feature in Architectural Digest. Ethan joined as my tech lead, his gaming skills now securing my digital assets, while Tessa's articles boosted my profile, her latest piece titled "The Designer Who Defied Corporate Greed." The success was a quiet triumph, but the past wasn't done with me yet. A letter arrived one rainy afternoon, its envelope creased and postmarked from a state prison. Inside was Victor's handwriting, shaky but legible. "Aria, I was wrong. Greed blinded me. I'm sorry." He enclosed a photo of his family, his wife's eyes hollow, a plea for forgiveness I hadn't expected. I sat at my desk, the letter trembling in my hands, feeling no rush of victory, only a weary pity. "You made your choice," I wrote back, sending a donation for his legal fees, a gesture to ease his burden, not absolve him. But the real shock came when Maya Torres reappeared, meeting me at the beanery with a confession that turned my world upside down. "I'm Victor's half-sister," she said, her purple-streaked hair falling over her face. "He got me fired to cover his tracks, and I sent that email to ruin him. It's personal." Her revelation explained her vendetta, her IT skills a weapon forged by familial betrayal, and I felt a mix of gratitude and unease. My ally had been driven by her own demons. The next surprise unearthed itself in my old Horizon files, a forgotten backup Maya had restored. Among the data was a memo Victor had buried, details of a $4 million project collapse 2 years ago, blamed on a junior designer he'd scapegoated to save his job. The same tactic he'd planned for me. Armed with this, I filed a civil suit against Horizon for negligence, winning a $500,000 settlement to fund AJ Design's expansion. The money transformed my studio, hiring a small team and securing a loft in the West Loop, its windows framing the city I'd fought to reclaim. Amelie, a young intern from a design school, joined me, her fresh ideas sparking a collaboration on a sustainable housing project that caught the eye of a global firm. 6 months later, the project's launch was a triumph, its eco-friendly designs celebrated at a gala where Elena presented me with an industry award, her speech lauding my journey. The room buzzed with applause, Zoe's sketches displayed on the walls, her growth under my mentorship a quiet pride. As I stepped onto the stage, a courier handed me an envelope, an invitation from a London architecture consortium offering a partnership to expand internationally. The jazz of a live band floated through the air, a melody of resilience. As I looked out over the crowd, my career no longer a pawn in someone else's game, but a legacy I'd built from the ashes of betrayal. Chicago's lights sparkled beyond the windows, a testament to my victory. And I knew this was only the beginning. Have you ever faced workplace betrayal? Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of drama and justice on this channel.